So how to generate the DTD using the DB unit API? To do that, I have whatever the entity model that we had earlier. I keep the same, and I am deleting the other models that we created earlier. Okay, and so now, once we have the simplest entity class, this is just the simplest entity class with first name, last name, and user ID. Once the entity is created, and add the entity object to the entity class to the Hibernate schema export class, and generate Hibernate schema out of this class. So once it is generated, it will generate the Hibernate schema export schema SQL. So grab the script from there, and then run against the test schema. So I set up the test schema. So I am running against the schema. Once your test schema is ready, now we need to work out on the DB unit. So this is pretty standard main class with username, password, and schema name, and this is the standard way of connecting to the database. And then once it is connected, and these are all pretty standard lines to generate the DTD. So
you're closing the braces after the password?
Pardon me?
After password, you're closing the braces?
This one?
Yeah, after the password you are closing braces, and after schema you are closing another braces.
Correct. So this is one object. We are getting the driver manager connection with the schema and generating the iDatabase object. This is the DB unit object. So once the object, you need to set the 3 lines. These are how to set up the data set to retrieve from the full stack test schema to generate the DTD file. So once you have done, and just right click on it, that's it, which will generate a DTD file. That's it. So your user DTD file will be generated. This I explained to you yesterday. So now when the DB unit is added, these are the DB unit specific classes. When you add, you see here, these are all imported from DB unit. To do that, in the form.xml, add so in the form.xml, add DB unit specific dependency, something like this. That's it. That's all 3 steps. Create an entity, add them in Hibernate schema export, generate this schema, Hibernate script, and run against the test schema, and then go to the DB unit and right click and generate the DTD file. That's all you need to do. Any questions?
No questions. Thank you.
It's clear now?
Yeah.
Yes.
So now, once we have the username and you understand how the DTD will be generated. Now, if you see in the database DTD, the same thing. Only user table, user ID, email, first name, last name. And because in the entity, I have mentioned first name and last name is maybe I started this. Okay. So the first name and last name is nullable false. That's why you see it as required for first name and last name. And user ID, because it's the ID column, that's why it has become not null. And email ID is, I think email ID also I made it as a required and unique. Okay. So based on this, I have generated, where's that? So where is the Spring Boot? Yeah. So this is my schema, test schema. I have the, you see, main schema and test schema. So now, once the DTD is generated, something like this, now what I'm going to do is create an abstract test DAO. This is like a generic class. So you create one time and use this class for every test case that you execute against the database. So now here, so this is needed to add. To add this dependency, you need to include Spring test specific API dependency on the form.xml. I'll show you in a minute. So something like this one. So you need to add this dependency. So this is the Spring support for writing JUnit test cases and executing test cases. Once you have the dependency, and then you can write, run with Spring Runner class. And then context configuration. What is the configuration we need to set up to run test cases? So here I did configuration. So all model means all my entity classes will go into this package. So even prior hire user is going into the same package, form, prior hire, boot model. And our DAOs will go into the parent is this one. So I can show you the mainline code. Now you can see here. So all my package, this is the test package. In the main package, you see that. So our DAO layer will go to the parent packages DAO. Everything is inside the DAO implementation, DAO user, DAO implementation user. Everything comes after DAO. So what I'm telling Spring is scan every class in this package and underneath also the model package and underneath the model. So now this line, whenever the test case is executed, this scan will happen and read through all the classes defined under these two package structures. Now, so and I am also defining the data source. What is the database I need to connect and get a data source object? Similarly, entity managed factory, this we discussed yesterday. So now here I am getting the DB unit object database test by using data source object and connect to the Spring Boot tests. So how it will connect to this? Which requires application dots. So to execute all these, we need to set up application test properties. So in the test properties, so these are the database connection mechanism. So giving the host address, port number, and the schema that you want to connect for the test, and what is the username to connect to the schema, and what is the password to connect to the schema, and how do we need to configure Hibernate properties. What we are telling is this is a MySQL database, and connect using this parent class, and you want to show SQL, show, and format SQL format. So once you have this configuration is ready, based on the configuration, you get the database tester object. So now let's go back to the abstract class here. This is our parent, right? So now you understand the importance of configuration and run with the Spring framework, JUnit test cases, and Spring Boot test. This is your prior application. How do you want to do that? So wherever the prior application configuration, use that for Spring Boot test, and active profiles is this test means application test.properties. So I'll pick up that file. So now, these are all the minimum standards we need to implement on a generic class, and I am making generic class as an abstract class, meaning any test case class should extend this class and write their own test cases. So here, you see here, database tester, session factory, these are all comes from test configuration. These are the beans. Database tester, session factory beans are created in the configuration file. So that's why when you auto-write, these two classes will be available as a beans into the parent file. So, and forget about most of the stuff in this file. Only worry about this one for now. So here, what I'm doing is, whenever the test case is executed, I'll explain this in a minute, maybe just a minute. So once you have the abstract class DOA ready, so now create the test user, prior user test, and so generally this is the main class. User is main class, and append with test is the test class. So that's the common naming. I mean, this is a common naming standard that you need to follow, so that whenever you come to this class, you will understand that whatever the test cases that you have written in this class is related to prior user class. So now, if you see here, I'm extending the abstract DAO test case. That means nothing but the class, generic class that we just created. So now here, what I'm doing, I'm auto-wiring the DAO layer. So this, you already know how to create the DAO layer, right? User DAO and DAO implementation. So we already learned about it while creating the web services. So when you make a repository annotation, it will automatically become a DAO layer. So now, here, I am creating the test data. So in the test data set, what I'm doing here, I am creating two records. Each line is representing one record into the database. So this means insert into prior user table, user ID is 101, email is email 1, first name is first name, last name is last name. These are the only three columns that we have in the table, and user ID is auto-generated. So insert these four values into prior user. And then second line, again insert a second row with different values for four columns. So this is all done by the DB unit. So this is basically our test data to execute test cases under prior user test. Once we have the two, this line will insert two records into the test database, and then I'm trying to get all users from the database. Here, so what I mentioned something like this, okay. I should change this. So I will change this. I have written a wrong test case. I said equals to user. Okay, this is not the right one. So get all will give me select star. This line means select star from prior user. So that will give multiple objects. So I am asserting the whatever the user size. User is a list of users. So I am asserting the size should be 2, because the test data that I am inserting is only 2 records. So now if I run this test case, it should pass. Let's see what happens. Select the test case, right click, run as J. So now if you see the J in it, the test case is passed. That's why you see the green case is passed. And if we look at the console, now you can see all these logs went through, and then we here get all. These are all debug statements are printing. And then in the application.test properties, I mentioned as show SQL and format SQL. Because of that reason, Hibernate is generating this query. So you see here, right? Select star from prior user base. So this is what the query will be executed against the database. Even if I go here and run the same query, I'll get the same result. So now you can see here, 2 results are available. So whatever the test data that we prepared in XML, right, that exact data will be inserted into the database. Even if you run any number of times same test case, what it will happen is it will clean the tables, truncate the table first, and insert the test data into the table, and then execute the test case and assert whether the results are, whatever the test case execution. Here I am just doing user.size. So each time I am doing a different test case. The most simplest test case I am trying to show you something like this. So if I say 3, for example, so assert equal, meaning this is my expected number of users, and right side user.size is actual result coming from the database. So now if I'm trying to run this case again, it should fail because I'm expecting only 2 records, but I'm trying to compare with 3 records. So it failed. So now you can see here, expected 3, but was coming is only 2. So now even if I want to go and change, you can do any type of test cases. I mean, what data you want to expect, how you write the test case. So let's say I'm adding one more line. So now let's execute the same test case. It will pass this time because I'm inserting 3 test data records and I'm getting all the records and comparing the size. This time the size should be 3. So now the test case is passed. Even if you go and look at the database, you will see 3 results, 3 records is inserted. So now that's the purpose of DB unit. So now here what happens here is, you see this one, right? So whenever the setup comes in, it goes to this table, data, test user XML, because this is one time. When you are executing, here there are multiple classes, like, I have written at least 3 different test cases, empty first name, update user, or something like this, right? 3 test cases are available here. So even if I execute, I can execute all together also. So run as. So I'm running the whole file. So now this time 3 test cases will be executed. Now I go to the JUnit window and you can see all the 3 test cases. So these are the 3 test cases executed, 3 passed, and it will tell you how much time it took to execute each test case. So when we are running 1 test case in the class or 3 or any number of test cases in the class, the before, this is before setup. So here you see only override. You go on to the abstract DAO class. Somewhere I have created an abstract method setup class. So I have mentioned as before. So based on the before annotation, what happens is whoever is extending this class, they have to override the setup class automatically because I'm overriding before annotation. This annotation directly comes from parent class because the parent method declaration has before. So the importance of, what is the importance of before? So whenever you do right click, run as JUnit, what happens is it will first execute before method. And this will be used to set up your test data and any other configurations that you want to set up before running the test cases. In our example, all we need is to set up the test data. So now what happens is DB unit will pick up this file and whatever the table name here, go to the table and then clean up the table first, meaning delete every record from the table and insert these three records. With that inserting three records, the setup process is complete. Once the setup process is complete, it will execute one by one test case. So it won't do the setup process for each test case. This is one-time setup for all the test cases available inside this class. Okay? So that's how we will set up the test data. We can execute the test cases against the database. Any questions? You're able to understand?
Yeah, like, but using these test cases we used to see in different scenarios, right?
Your voice is not clear.
Using these test cases, we used to go through with different scenarios, right?
Yeah, I mean, see, I told you only the simplest way of how to set up the environment, how to create test cases. So while writing test cases, there will be very complicated scenarios.
Okay.
So I started with a very simplest one.
Yeah, okay, got it.
Any other questions? So this class is very, very important. Go through this and try to navigate and, work through the video. So without understanding how to create the DB unit test cases, you cannot go further. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
Any more questions?
Yeah, sure.
No question.
No questions from me.
Okay, guys. So tomorrow I have the office work in the night. I have office work, so I can't make it tomorrow. So I can meet with